All right, this morning I'm going to be using multiple different videos and media. It's going to be a little bit of more of a media-heavy service, but it's going to be fun. We're going to enjoy it. So this morning I want to start off with a little music video that I think is going to make most of you laugh in here and chuckle. So enjoy. Ding, 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 ding. Inside your local coffee shop, sporting up and running facial hair. Somehow he believes, although he has no job, that by his 30s he will be a millionaire. M-I-L-L-E-N, M-I-A-L, gotta love the videos. M-I-L-L-E-N, M-I-A-L, gotta love the videos. She posts lots of selfies on her Instagram with the quote that's inspirational. Hopes to change the world while wearing yoga pants, on with her dreams and knowledge of essential oils. M-I-L-L-E-N, M-I-A-L, gotta love the videos. M-I-L-L-E-N, M-I-A-L, gotta love the videos. 27 years old, trying to make it all their own. Maybe stop by leaving your parents home, but maybe we're just wrong. Ha 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 ha. Criticism isn't easy for their ears. They feel like they know most everything. See, they grew up with undeserving confidence, 'cause they got trophies just for participating. M-I-L-L-E-N, M-I-A-L, gotta love millennials. M-I-L-L-E-N, M-I-A-L, gotta love millennials. In a couple of years, we will have to pass the torch. In a couple of years, they will be in charge, and one will be our president. M-I-L-L-E-N, M-I-A-L, gotta love millennials. M-I-L-L-E-N, M-I-A-L, please pray for millennials. So now, as we watch that, there's quite a few of you that I can tell thoroughly enjoyed watching that. And as myself, as an individual, I want you just to realize you did elect a millennial to be your lead pastor. I mean, think about this one for a second. I know I'm in this gap between the generations where I identify a little bit more as Generation X than I do as a millennial. It's actually, there is a subgroup that they call the Oregon Trail generation, which is the grouping of kids who learn to use computers by playing Oregon Trail in elementary school. And that I didn't have internet in my home until I was in 9th grade. I didn't have a cell phone until I was in college. So I'm in this weird, I'm kind of a millennial, but I'm also kind of Generation X. But here's the thing I want you to realize, and I want to start, it's going to kind of feel like I'm all over the place today, but trust me, I'm going to tie all of this together. Last week when I ran my marathon, my goal was to run it in 4 hours and 20 minutes. I ran it in 4 hours and 51 minutes. You could look at that and say very easily, I didn't hit my goal. Now, as I say that, how many of you have ran a marathon in the room? Just a few handfuls. So it's really easy that your first initial thought is look at it like, oh wow, he missed his goal by a half hour. But when you think about that, 26 miles, missed it by a half hour, I missed my goal by 1 mile per minute. Which isn't that bad. Now, if I told you that I was in about 4,700th place, and I got my participation medal that I got to bring home with me, That wouldn't sound that impressive until I tell you that 20,025 people ran the marathon, so I ran it faster than about 16,000 people. Well, thank you. But here's the thing, is when we look at it, so much of things is our perception. What are we choosing to look at? And when we can look at a video like that we just saw, and we can look at it, well, this is what millennials exist and look like. The problem is so often we're looking at the stereotype and not the root of what are millennials. Before I have another video I want to show you, but I want to show you a series of logos, and I want to point out something, that these are all logos that you have seen before. But I want you to look at the logos slightly different. So, Cameron, go ahead and put the first logo up here. How many of you have seen the Baskin-Robbins logo before? Okay, so at the top of it above Baskin-Robbins, the text, we have BR for Baskin-Robbins. Except you see the number 31 in the middle of the BR. 31 flavors. And a part of their logo shows the fact that they are known for 31 flavors. If you're just looking at the logo, you'll miss that. But it's hidden right there. The next logo, Hershey Kisses. Have you ever noticed that between the K and the I, there's a sideways Hershey Kiss there? It's always been there. You've just never seen it before until somebody points it out to you. Cameron, show us the next one. Amazon. You ever wonder why there's that orange sweeping arrow? If you notice, it connects the A and the Z because they sell everything from A to Z. It's always been there. You just didn't notice it. Next one. The Atlanta Falcons logo. Yes, they lost yesterday, but this will still work for my point. I always wondered for the longest time, why is the falcon in this weird shape? Until you realize that the falcon is in the shape of an F. It's always been there. You just never saw it that way before. Next one. FedEx. Ever notice the arrow between the E and the X? Always been there. If you look at the E and the X, it's black right here. See the black arrow right between the E and the X. You'll never look at a FedEx truck without seeing that logo, or that arrow again. Next one, Cameron. Toblerone. It's made in Bern, Switzerland. The image that's on the crest of Bern, Switzerland is a bear. They've hidden a bear within the mountain of the Toblerone logo. And Cameron, I believe we have one more, right? Tostitos. Have you ever noticed that the T, the I, and the T are two people dipping chips into salsa? It's always been there, but until you look at it with your right perspective, you don't see it. And so this morning, we're going to be starting talking about millennials, but we're going to be talking about our whole community as a whole, of how we're going to be able to reach people and how we're going to be able to point them towards Jesus. And the reality is, even with millennials, we're going to have to look at them differently than what society tells us. Instead of looking at people and say, you know what, maybe in a few years that you can grow up. And realize this, the next presidential election, that if I wanted to declare myself as a candidate for president, I can run for president. I have no desire to be president, but at my age, I will be allowed to run for president of the United States, and I'm a millennial. So things are changing within our country, but I want you to watch this video about 3 things that millennials want out of church.
Here's a grim statistic from Barna to start things off. Only 2 in 10 Americans under the age of 30 believe that church is important or worthwhile. It's an all-time low. And of course, while this data point isn't encouraging, it gets worse when you consider that this group, millennials, represent the largest generation in history, the largest group in the workforce, and the largest group eligible to vote. So, what is it that millennials actually want from a church? Well, based on my own experience as a millennial, as well as a handful of great research, here are 3 key things that millennials do want from their churches. Firstly, you have to consider that millennials have seen more advertisements at their young age than any other generation. From the time that I was a kid, television ads, radio ads, billboards, to the advent of internet advertising, and now social media promotions. Me and my millennial counterparts have been conditioned to be skeptical of anything that's salesy, overhyped, or promotional in nature. And this is why the first thing that I really want from a church is for it to be real. Not relevant, mind you, real. And there's a key distinction here. I don't need you to put on skinny jeans, get a dope fade, and start saying things like lit, fam, or swole. Millennials react negatively to anything that looks or feels disingenuous. A Barna study revealed that 66% of millennials found American churchgoers to be hypocritical. So, stop with the masks and the fake smiles, lead with vulnerability. That's the first thing millennials want and need from church. Be real and be you. Secondly, when Barna asked millennials to choose from word pairings to describe their vision of the ideal church, 78% chose community over privacy, and 64% chose casual over dignified. I want the church that I'm a part of to offer me something that is so hard to find elsewhere: community. Speaking personally, I don't need another great message or rocking worship set. Okay, that's been commoditized. Spotify gives me access to any song ever made. Podcasts offer me any sermon ever taught. What your church can do, though, is foster a place of true community. And this is the second thing millennials crave from church, because it's hard to find elsewhere, and the church is uniquely positioned to provide it. Finally, the third thing millennials crave from church, we want a seat at the table. I want to be taken seriously. I want to be included in the decision-making, in the leadership. I'm 26 years old. I've got a mortgage. I've been married for 5 years. I'm the parent of a toddler. I'm a small business owner. And this stuff is hard. There's a reason that we, the millennials, created a word for it. We call it adulting. You get thrust into the real world, into your 20s, and you've got to figure it out as you go, with no practice or real preparation. And yet, when I walk into a church, I'm still considered a kid. In every other area of my life, I've been given responsibility and autonomy, but in church, I'm told still, hey, take a back seat. And this is clear when we look at the data. There are more pastors over the age of 65 than under the age of 40. Millennials were the largest voting group, the largest group in the North American workforce, but in church, we're still the up-and-coming next generation. You want to reach young people? You've got to prioritize young people. Moreover, consider this: the largest demographic in your city and community is us millennials, and yet the median age of a senior pastor is 54. What does this mean? Well, it means that the average senior pastor is 20 to 30 years older than the biggest group that he or she is trying to reach with the message of Jesus. So from a purely pragmatic position, you want to reach young people? Well, the young people could probably help with that. So, to summarize, the three things millennials want from a church. Firstly, we want church to be real and authentic. Secondly, we want church to be a place where we can find real community, not just see another show. And thirdly, we want a seat at the table to be a part of something bigger than ourselves.
So as you hear those things, let me highlight those three again: real and authentic, community, seat at the table. When you hear the first two, how many of you want a church that's not real and authentic? Like you want a fake church? Okay, so really we can look at that and we can all agree that we want a real and authentic church. The second one is community. This is one of the things that I love about this church, is that there is a sense of community, that when you walk out of the sanctuary, there's some of you that stay for 30 or 40 minutes talking and interacting, and that there's so much relationship. That's something that's really good that we have going for us. The big one, and I think this is something that this church has chosen in the last several months to really start engaging, is that idea of a seat at the table for a donor perspective. That I'm thrilled to be the anti-stat that he mentioned, that the average age of a lead pastor is 54. I'm 22 years younger than that. You've chosen to say, let's try and do something different so that we can reach our community. Here's some stats that I want you to hear about just millennials. Millennials have surpassed the baby boomers as the nation's largest living generation, according to population estimates from the U.S. Census Bureau. Millennials, whom we define as those aged 18 to 34 in the year 2015, now number 75.4 million, surpassing the 74.9 million baby boomers, and Generation X is projected to pass the boomers by population in 2028. It's going to take Generation X another 10 years before they are a bigger living generation than the baby boomers. So you notice in so many churches you have this almost butting of heads between the baby boomer generation and the millennial generation. And notice something interesting. Which generation do you think raised the other generation? So often when we look at that video that we watched a few moments ago about the participation trophies, did the millennial generation give themselves participation trophies, or did the baby boomer generation give the millennials participation trophies? Who raised who? Then all of a sudden when we start looking and we start pointing fingers at any given generation, like using the millennials for the example, and we say, well, millennials are this, millennials are that. Who raised millennials? All of a sudden it's not as funny when we flip the conversation and we point the finger and say, who raised them to be a particular way? Who put the Nintendo in their hands in the first place? Who put the internet in their house? Who gave them access to a cell phone with a data plan and said, here, go take the internet and put it in your pocket? It wasn't a millennial. But now we're looking at this is who they are. And so many on the younger end of the millennial time span have never existed in a world where they didn't have the internet to do research. When I was in high school, I was still in a spot where I had to go to the library to do a research paper, and I had to use the Dewey Decimal, the Dewey Decimal System to find what book I wanted and check it out and then take it back a week later. Now all of a sudden you have all the media, everything you want at your fingertips. That any book that you want, you could have downloaded on an iPad or a Kindle, or you can have even on your phone. The fact that we have more information and knowledge and technology in something that's the size of my hand than what used to, 30, 40 years ago, take up an entire room. They're raised this way, they have this given to them, and we need to look at them and say, how can we embrace what you have, what you're doing, and how can we improve the church? How can we make the church better by working together? And see, here's part of the problem, is that we look at it and say, you're trying to change my church. Notice something in the statement I just made. You're trying to change my church. It's not your church. This isn't my church. This isn't your church. It's Jesus' church. And if we look through all the time, church is always changing. Now, here's the thing that I want you to hear come out of my mouth before I go any farther into this message. We can change the packaging. We can't change what's inside the package. My cousin knows that I thoroughly dislike the movie A Christmas Story. Like, least favorite Christmas movie ever. I wish that they would not show it. I just don't like it. Some of you like me right now, some of you don't like me. But one year, he decided to go out searching for wrapping paper that was a Christmas Story wrapping paper. And he was so thrilled and excited about the Christmas Story wrapping paper that was just going to get torn off anyways. Because just because it was wrapped in something didn't change the gift that was inside the wrapping paper. The gift was itself. The wrapping paper was going to get torn off, it was going to be put in a trash bag, it was going to be thrown away. It had no merit, no worth, nothing. It's just paper. When we look at the style of the way the church happens, the style is like the wrapping paper. The truth of Jesus Christ is the substance of the gift that cannot change. So as I talk, please hear this. I have no interest in changing the truth of Jesus Christ. We cannot change what the Word of God says. And if we try changing what the Word of God says, then we've got a problem because it's no longer the Word of God. But at the same time, we have to look at it and say, are we willing to change the way we present the gift, as long as it doesn't change what the gift is? So through this series, we're going to be looking at what are we as a church going to do to reach our community with the realization that the millennial generation is now the largest living generation, and we want to reach them with the gospel. Notice something as well. The music that we did this morning, this is what I love about Dave's story. Yeah. Is that Dave and I, unless I'm asking for something specific, which I did for our song at the end of service today, I just let Dave have a full run. And he came up with, he's like, you know what, let's do all hymns this week. I'm like, that's perfect. Because here's the thing. I'm not saying, let's get rid of hymns out of the church. You're not going to hear me say that. There's some good hymns that get some great theology that are needed. But at the same time, to say, all we can ever do is hymns. that's not the right message either. Because all of a sudden now we're disregarding that all this other stuff. Notice in the Bible, can anybody point out the passage to me where it says, and Jesus sang a hymn? I don't think it's in there. Can anybody point out the passage in the Bible to me where it says, Jesus played in the church orchestra? Or Jesus sang in the church choir? All great things that have been a part of church history. Jesus sat down and played the pipe organ. All great things that have existed, but doesn't mean that they have to continue to exist. They're just methods and tools that have pushed the truth of Jesus Christ into new ages. So this morning, we're going to be beginning this series of Charting the Course. This week we're talking about lowering the anchor. Next week we're going to be talking about set sail. And in 2 weeks we're going to be talking about all hands on deck. But we're going to start this morning by looking at Hebrews 6, 13 through 20. When God made his promise to Abraham, since there was no one greater for him to swear by, he swore by himself, saying, I will surely bless you and give you many descendants. And so after waiting patiently, Abraham received what was promised. People swear by someone greater than themselves, and the oath confirms what is said and puts an end to all argument. Because God wanted to make the unchanging nature of his purpose very clear to the heirs of what was promised, he confirmed it with an oath. God did this so that by two unchangeable things, in which it is impossible for God to lie, we have fled to take hold of the hope set before us, may be greatly encouraged. We have this hope as an anchor for the soul, firm and secure. It enters the inner sanctuary behind the curtain, where our forerunner, Jesus, has entered on our behalf. He has become a high priest forever in the order of Melchizedek. Here's the thing. When we look at this, we see just this statement that we have this hope as an anchor for the soul, firm and secure. An anchor is something that is meant to hold a ship steady in two different conditions. One, when it's in safe water, and to keep the ship from drifting off. It's in a safe place. It's time where you can get off the boat, you can rest, you can relax. If any of you have ever been on a cruise before, you get off at the port, you get to experience some new experiences. Everything is great. They drop anchor so that the ship can't go anywhere. The other time you drop an anchor is when there's a bad storm that's coming. And when a bad storm comes, the only thing that's going to protect you from being thrown around, being tipped over, to getting thrown into rocks or whatever it may be, is an anchor that's strong enough to hold a ship in place. And so for us as people as well, that we have the storms that come up in life. We need an anchor that will keep us in one place, steady and firm, so that when storms come, that we know which way we're going. We know that we're steady. We know that no matter what comes up against us, that no weapon formed against us shall prosper. Even as I just think of Caleb and Brittany this morning, I put my mind back into what I felt like the day that we had our fire. And I remember that in those moments of feeling desperate of what's going on in our world right now, that worship songs came back to my mind. Scripture came back to my mind because Jesus is my anchor. The problem is for so many people that they don't have an anchor. And when they don't have an anchor, then when any storm comes and pushes them, they're going to go in whatever direction that wave comes. I want you to look really quick at a picture of what an anchor looks like for a cruise ship. That's a pretty substantial anchor. I have no idea how heavy one of these things is. I didn't look. I watched some videos of watching as they lower anchors in some of the chains, and I was blown away by the size of these chains. So take a look at this picture of a man standing next to the chains. Those chains are probably about 2/3 of the size of that guy if you stand them up on their end. And I imagine much, much heavier. That it's a series of these chains that when they start dropping the anchor, go home today, and if you're really curious, and watch on YouTube as they drop anchor, these chains are flying, and they are so strong and so sturdy that there is no weak link there, because they're all doing their job. And so now, as the church, here's what we need to realize. If Jesus is the anchor for us, then the church in its community is the chain holding the anchor to the boat. And here's what I want you to realize, is that when we think of the anchor, Jesus has already done all the work. There's nothing that we can do. But when we can make the connection between Jesus and the boat, that's our role, is to help make people realize that Jesus is here for them. And whether they're in a calm season of their life, whether they're just coming to church and they're meeting who Christ is and everything feels good, or they're going through the greatest travesty of their entire life, that we as the church are the chain that's connecting the anchor to the boat. That we're helping them, that we are there for them, that they may not even feel like they need us in that moment, but then all of a sudden, when there's a need for the anchor, and we need to drop the anchor because we need to stay steady right where we are, that in that very moment, we as the church are ready. Here's the thing with the chain, though, that if we think of all the people in our life who helped anchor us to Jesus, who helped be that chain for us, all of our experiences look different. The people who introduced you to Christ may look different than the people who introduced me to Christ. The music that you liked when you first met Christ is typically the music that you continue to like. Let's try this example out. Cameron, if you can go ahead and pull that song up on Spotify. Here's a song from 1989 that I think some of you will instantly connect with, and some of you are going to wonder, why in the world is he playing that? So enjoy. How many of you recognize who that group is? Anyone? Petra. I want you guys to realize something, that when I was at the age of like 5, 6, 7, I was not allowed to listen to Petra because Petra was rock and roll. Petra was rock and roll, and at the ages of 5, 6, 7, I wasn't allowed to listen to him. It wasn't until maybe like I was 10 or 11 or 12 that I was starting to get to listen to Petra. If you listen to that music today, if we were to play that in most churches, that would feel like, wow, that's outdated. Like, truthfully, I turned Petra on to try and find a good song to play this morning, and I ended up listening to Petra for like about an hour or two in my office, just because it kind of took me back a little bit to like my 9, 10-year-old, like, I can listen to Petra now. Because we wouldn't consider that like hard rock and roll anymore. We would say like, hey, there's some churches that probably listen and their worship sounds like that on a Sunday morning. Because, oh, they have electric guitars. Remember there's a time where you bring an electric guitar on the stage of a church, it's like, oh my goodness, those people, they don't love Jesus anymore. But in reality, the experience that some of you had was different than the experience that someone else had. But here's the problem, is when we base, whether it's Christian or not, based off of our experiences, what we're simply doing is we're detaching the anchor that is Jesus, and we're dragging our chain through the water, hoping that's going to stop the ship in the case of a storm. Your Christian experience isn't enough when somebody faces travesty. Saying, hey, well, when I went through this, I listened to Petra, and Petra will get you through it. No, Petra's not going to get you through it. Jesus is going to get you through it. The thing is, when you think of these links in the chain, they spend a lot of their time in water, in salt water. which is going to rust those chains. And if you don't take care of the chain, if you don't work on making sure that there's no rust on it, if you don't repaint it every once in a while, if you ever go on a cruise ship, you'll notice that most cruise ships on a weekly basis, there is somebody somewhere repainting portions of the ship to prevent rust from getting on the ship. That paint is that kind of facelift saying, you know what? This is the way we've done church, but let's do a facelift to say, you know, that we want to continue being strong links, not weak links. The moment you have a weak link, then all of a sudden it doesn't matter if every other chain could pull 1,000,000 pounds. If that one link can no longer hold the weight of the anchor, it breaks, it snaps. And it's very easy to become a link that pushes somebody away from Christ, simply because they're not doing it my way. Church was never about being your way. Church is about being God's way, that none shall perish. And it's really easy to have an attitude when we go back and look at, for a moment again, at that video about millennials and saying, oh wow, yeah, he's got a man bun. He's got weird facial hair. He's still living in his parents' basement. But if we look at the way the world exists now compared to the way the world existed 30 years ago, and we were to cut millennials some credit for a second and saying that, hey, they can go off, we told them go get a bachelor's degree and there'll be a job for you. That used to be the case. It's not the case anymore. The bachelor's degree now is almost the equivalent of having a high school diploma 30 years ago. Just because you have one doesn't mean it's going to get you a job. Yeah, sure, there's people who are getting liberal arts degrees where it's like, what's the point of that degree? But in reality, we have students who are working really hard to try and get degrees that they have to move back home. The first 3 or 4 years that I was in ministry, I lived in my parents' house. I lived in my childhood bedroom. Simply because I took a job at a church where I couldn't get full-time pay, but I knew it's where God was calling me to do. We need to look at our culture in general and say, what can we do to reach every aspect of the culture? When we look at the way this church should grow, we should look at what does the community of St. Clair Shores look like. That we need to have full representation. That every single person in this church matters. It doesn't matter if you are a newborn baby or you're 90 years old. All of our experiences brought together are being used to anchor people to Christ. As we just even hear that music, it's really easy for some of you to be like, hey, worship would be awesome next week. Like, I'm going to go talk to Dave about saying, let's play a Petra set next week. It'd be really easy to kind of have that mentality and that mindset of saying, this is the way I want to do church. But it's not about us. As we move forward into the days that come, our role as a church is to do one thing. It's to help people become anchored to Christ. It's so that when people come into these doors, they come in with an expectation of, I'm going to meet Christ here. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know what Christ is going to do in my life. But I've come here because I've heard that the Shores Church is a church where if you're sick, you can come and get prayed for and you can be healed. And I need healing. That the Shores Church is a church that when people come into, relationships get restored and marriages become whole again. That relationships between parents and kids become healthy. That the Shores Church is a place that I can come and meet Christ, that I can find peace, that I can find hope, that I can find love, that I can find community. That the Shores Church is a place that's not about themselves, but they're about making Jesus famous. That's what church is all about. It's not about us. And it's something that I've been very intentional through the last 4 months or so of being here. I'm telling you, my intention is not to come in here and change everything. My intention is to come in here and say, God, what do you want changed this week? And I love seeing just the health. I love seeing the new people that have come. I love seeing the fact that this church is poised to do awesome things because we are right in the middle of the community. Here's something that's probably fits better into next week, but I just feel like I want to share because I want to give you an idea of this is what my mind is thinking. We have an amazing courtyard that's out here. Imagine if we raised the money to build an amazing playscape in the middle of that courtyard. And then every Friday during the summers, we open up from 11 to 1 o'clock. We open up the building. We grill food for the community. And then people can come in and they can let their kids play in a community playground. And we feed them. And they come in and they experience the love of Jesus Christ. Because there's Christians here who care about them and care about their community. Then I can look at things that this church does, like the warming center. That we say, we care about our community enough that we're going to bring in people who have a major need, and we're going to bless them and take care of them. There's a lot more things like that I want to talk about next week that I want to share. But it's those kinds of things that say, you know what? Everybody in our community matters. We're not going to write off a generation. We're not going to write off a race. We're not going to write off that anybody who is different than us, that everybody who's alive has the ability of accepting Christ and becoming in a relationship with Him. And we are responsible for being the church that anchors them to Christ. And with that being said, I want to share something. This is probably the main new thing that I want to share with you this morning. Is that if you look up here on the walls, you'll see the sailboat logo that's been our logo for, as far as I know, for quite a long time. This is the last Sunday that will be our logo. Because our new logo is going to be right above my shoulder right now. Because we are going to be a church that anchors people to Jesus Christ. It may not be the way you want it to be. It may not be the way I want it to be. Next week, I'm going to share a lot of what I feel like are my dreams and my visions and my plans that God has given me. But hear me when I say it. I'm going to share that this is what I feel like God's saying. But some of it is stuff that we'll be able to jump in and we'll be able to do on week 1. Some of it is going to be, we're going to be working at it for 6, 7, 8 months. That, for example, jumping in and partnering with foster care in Macomb County. I've already had a meeting with one of our lead people in the Assemblies of God working with foster care in the state of Michigan, that Macomb County is 4th on the list when it comes to needing of help with foster care. And there's so many different ways that we can get involved with. Holding graduation parties for high school seniors who their families don't have money to throw them graduation parties. Imagine if every year we had about 10 to 15 graduating seniors who we threw them just a big graduation party where they could have their own table, their loved ones could come, and they could come and celebrate their accomplishments. That their friends had a place that they could come and celebrate with them. That at Christmas time, that we bring in kids that they need to have that experience of Christmas, and we as a church can bless them. There's so many different ways we can get involved with, and I can tell you, here's the 3 things I really want to do. But then God changes the plan and says, this is exactly how we want to do it. So some of this is going to change as we go, but realize this, that we as the church have to get into the community. We can't wait for the community to say, hey, let's go check out that church. Let's go be the church in our community, in our workplaces, in our families. I would love to see this place filled, and you've heard me say this before. I'm more worried about heaven being filled than I am this room being filled. And if we tell people about Jesus and they wind up going to some other church, then hey, we'll see them in heaven. But some other church is going to be doing the work, and then they're going to be sharing the gospel of who Jesus is, and they may wind up here. I'm not worried about the size of this church. I'm worried about the size of hell. And I want that place to be as small as possible because those people don't belong there. And if we look at it and say, well, that's not my style, that's not my music, that's not my this, it's never for you. If this morning as you listen to hymns and you got excited, hey, we're not going to stop doing hymns. But next week if we do no hymns, then you can't have an attitude of saying, well, they never do hymns. We do hymns. Like I mentioned, Dave prays about his set. Dave puts a lot of work into the music that he picks on a week-to-week basis. And there's so many moments where the music that Dave is picking is exactly, it falls so in line with what I'm preaching on. And him and I, we don't really talk about it because I trust him that he's going to listen to what God is telling him to do. It's not about the song, the style, the words. It's about the heart of worship going back up to God. It's about us as a church working together, because some of you in this room that you are great at evangelizing, that I could ask you to go door to door in your community, knocking and praying and asking people about Jesus, and you would love it, and some of you, that would terrify you. But the thing is, when it comes to me, that's not my personality, like naturally going door to door. Like, I feel like God has completely gifted me as somebody who can teach and can administrate, but going door to door, it does kind of throw me off. I'm an introvert. But we as the body of Christ work together to anchor. Because notice, one link can't drop that anchor into the water. We're all needed. So this morning, in a moment, if the worship team would go ahead and come back up to the stage, we're going to end with a song. It's 4 or 5 years old now, but it's a Hillsong song called Anchor. And I want you to hear the chorus of this. There is hope in the promise of the cross. You gave everything to save the world you love, and this hope is an anchor for my soul. Our God will stand unshakable. When we allow Jesus to be the anchor of our soul, then we are then able to be the chain that helps anchor the next person and anchor the next person so that people are experiencing the truth and the love of who Jesus is. So often it's easy for us to have the mentality of saying, well, that's not the way I want it. There's a lot of things that have happened in my life that are not the way I want it. But all of those things and all of the experiences in my life have gotten me to this point. And that God's plan is greater than what my plan is. It's deeper than what my plan is. And it may not look the way that I want it to look, or the way I expect it to look, or the way that I pray about it looking. But if we, just like those logos that I showed you in the beginning, if we're willing to look and see, is there something deeper going on there? Is there something that God's trying to get at? Is there something that God's trying to do that I just don't see yet? Chances are there is. I'm looking forward to the day where that anchor logo that's up there right now, that we can put that anchor on this side, I'm trying to get perspective here, this wall and this wall, so that when you're driving down the street, you see an anchor, and then all of a sudden that we are the anchor of this community. We're going to start in this next week or so, like even when it comes out to the banners like this, we're going to start social media. We're going to start changing this our logo over to being this anchor, because I want this church to be known in this community of that when I'm facing a hard time, I know where I can go and find an anchor. I know where I can go and find a spot where I can be steady and I will not be pushed off, because there is a community of people who love me enough. And it doesn't matter what I look like. It doesn't matter if I'm male. It doesn't matter if I'm female. It doesn't matter if I'm 20. It doesn't matter if I'm 70. That there is a church in this community that is pulling us towards the anchor that will give us stability, will give us peace, that through the hardest of times, that Jesus is there for us. So this morning, as we just close in this song, Anchor, I just ask you to join me up here on the altar this morning, because this song, yes, it can be sung in regards to us, but I want you, as you're singing this morning, to think about the people that are in your everyday life, the people that you have the ability of telling about Jesus to, and realize that Christ doesn't just want to be an anchor for you. Christ wants to be an anchor for everybody, because he came and died for everybody. So this morning, let's just join in worship as we just close with Anchor.